Do the Russians trust their government more than they trust America? Does America trust our government more than we trust, the enemy, the people? Where I'm going with this is, like you said, when America was first founded, it was about the federalism with the lowercase f. Well, you said a small f, right? Okay,
yes.
Which means we made the decisions for our lives, and to each his own, go find a way to make money. We're not going to get in your way. We didn't really have that much taxes back then. It was, survival of the fittest, go be industrious, create an economy, create a small business, build something for your family, here's some land, X, Y, Z. Today, the government is massive. So today, I can speak for myself and some of the friends that I speak to. It seems like some people are more paranoid, and who they don't trust sometimes today is the U.S. government with their decision-making process. So there's an element of paranoia today because America is not what America was founded on. It's a different America today than what it was before. And this is left and right. They both like a big government. They both like control. They both feel they can make the right decision for us, where, based on what you're saying, the Founding Fathers more, hey, I think you can reason, and your ability to reason, we trust you. Go figure out a way to win for your family, and we're going to leave it up to you. So paranoia to me is also different for different positions. Like as a general of the military, I would hope our general is somewhat paranoid. For the frontline guys, I would hope they're a little bit paranoid. For folks who are working in your world, I hope you go to sleep at night trying to think what Putin's next 15 moves are, because if you're not, I'm deeply concerned. So the part I think about paranoid is more proper preparation, prevents poor performance, right? We're overly prepared against the enemy. Do you think the concept of paranoia has changed today with the people of America towards the government versus the enemy? Or do you think, we should still go back to being more optimistic because future does look bright? Everything's going to eventually work itself out.
Okay. Maybe we should use the word suspicious, for some of these things. This idea of paranoia or suspicion of the government, I think part of the problem in our society is that we're less suspicious or less paranoid, many of us, than we should be. One of the principles of the founders, one of the consensus views that existed, and this is right in the Federalist Papers and all the rest, is the American people are expected to be suspicious of government. That was one of the things that made the American character different. We believed in rugged individualism and self-sufficiency. We were supposed to be a nation of farmers and small shopkeepers. They understood the principle. As Thomas Jefferson said, that government governs best which governs least, okay? Behind that principle is the understanding that the increase of government power inevitably erodes your freedom. You cannot have stronger and stronger government and be free, because you're giving government more and more control over yourself.
Powerful.
And therefore, the founders expected Americans to be extremely suspicious of government. And indeed, in those days, before television and radio, one of the entertainments people had was politics. People would get together in bars and taverns. They would listen to political speeches for hours. They were much more engaged, I think, than Americans are today. We think of ourselves as more informed and more sophisticated. They were very sophisticated and well-read, those early Americans, and that's one of the reasons why they were suspicious of the growth of government at any level, whether it was at the village level or the state level, and especially at the federal level. And indeed, the Federalist Papers, famous papers written by Madison and Monroe, and Alexander Hamilton, were written to try to convince, in the aftermath of the American Revolution, where we had just thrown off a monarchy. They were written to try to convince the states, you need to come together, in a federal government, and we'll have a centralized government in Washington to manage relations between the states and to defend the country and to manage foreign policy. But don't worry, this government in Washington isn't going to become another tyranny, because the states didn't believe that. There were a lot of people called the anti-federalists who didn't want that. They said, we just fought in a revolution to get out from under monarchy. So the whole debate over the Constitution and the Federalist Papers showed how suspicious people were of the growth of government, and that basically that limited government, produced the America that we enjoy today up until, I guess, until the progressive era started changing things. You mentioned about taxes, for example, low taxes. People didn't have to pay income taxes. It was unconstitutional to pay income taxes until the progressives changed that, I think in 1910 or 1913.
03.
And they amended, they amended the Constitution, and that opened the floodgates, because one of the things the founders, the reason it was unconstitutional is they understood that if you gave government access to people's income and you could tax them, I think the phrase was, government will eat out the substance of the people. And basically that was what has happened and led to the explosive growth of government. Today, people, unfortunately, I think, are much more trusting of government than they were throughout most of this country's history. Now, there are exceptions, of course, people who are conservatives, who understand the history of this country and the principles on which it's founded, tend to be suspicious of government, and increasingly so because of the greatly expanded power of government. But there is also half of America's family. I mean, the Democrat Party, people who actually want to have socialism. Really, communism is what it is. They call it socialism and democratic socialism to dress it up, but it really comes down to full-blown communism in terms of what the way they're behaving and what they're after. And these people actually think government is the answer to all problems, and they want the government to take care of them. They want the government to save them from climate change, from institutional racism, from all of these fantasy threats that the government tells them are real, and is the reason we should give more power to government to save them and protect them, and to protect them also from people who disagree with them. Because if you disagree with them, the idea of being able to have a civilized debate and argument, the rationalism requires you to respect other people's point of view and concede that they may be sincere and not evil, and that you need to have a conversation with them and convince them to your point of view. That is being rapidly lost in our society by the other side, which has all the earmarks of becoming an effect in a totalitarian movement within our country, and threatens, and not just threatens, but frankly, I think we've already lost. I don't think we're a constitutional republic today. I think we're in the faces of a soft tyranny, and why do I say that? Because I think for some years we haven't been a constitutional republic. In the first year of the Trump administration, not President Trump's fault, but the Democrat Party's fault when they brought the false charges and tried to impeach the president, for being a Manchurian candidate, all of which has been proven to be false, that he was an agent of Russia, and repeatedly abused the intelligence agencies to try to basically have a coup d'etat against a legitimately elected American president. The point is that both political parties, to have a true constitutional republic, have got to respect the Constitution and the rule of law, and recognize the legitimacy of the political power of the other side when they win elections fairly, okay? And that didn't happen right from the beginning of the Trump administration. So you don't really have we haven't really lived in a true constitutional republic. What we've been undergoing is a civil war, between a nascent totalitarian movement on one side and the people who still believe in the Constitution on the other side, and we're trying to. I hope that we can get back to becoming a constitutional republic again, but there are very profound problems in our civilizational culture and our politics and all the rest that have resulted in this, and it's not going to be easy to overcome. We may go the way of most free systems. I mean, history is not populated mostly by free systems. Mostly they are tyrannies and military dictatorships and authoritarian type systems, because freedom is hard. It's hard to be a free people. You have to be actively engaged. You have to be the kind of American the founders had in mind. Someone who was going to be always suspicious of government, always jealous of his of his ability to manage himself. It was a point of pride among Americans, for example, throughout most of our history, not to take charity. The idea of taking a handout from your neighbor would be disgraceful. It was considered a sign of manhood and of good citizenship that you should be able to take care of yourself and your own family. And if you couldn't, that was a source of shame, and that very healthy instinct, has gone away to an attitude that people feel the government owes them a living. But these are that's a topic we could go on all afternoon. But yeah, I think we're in great trouble that way. Oh, on the other side, where the Russians are concerned, for example, if we're talking about that, I mean, Putin is more popular right now. I mean, he's probably more popular than he's ever been.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.